Welcome to Where Parents Talk. I'm Lianne Castelino. Our guest today is an educational psychologist, a speaker, award-winning author, and sought-after media contributor. Her clients have included everyone from Sesame Street and military personnel to royalty. She has written 25 books, and her latest is called Thrivers, the surprising reason why some kids struggle and others shine. We are delighted to welcome Dr. Michele Borba, who joins us today from California. Hi there.
Hello. Hello.
I want to say that the title of your book I found absolutely fascinating because, it's a positive concept in terms of what is it that we need to be doing as parents to help our kids thrive versus, struggle in life.
Oh, I love that. I think too often what we fail to do is look at their assets and we use a deficit model instead. And as a result, we don't get the changes we want. Now, it's not like we should stop helping our kids with the math and they're struggling, but we need to now look at what science says. That the base of thriving really is confidence. It's a child who knows who they are, not what we want them to become. And that's the starting point of it all.
So let's go back a little bit. You've been on the forefront of this topic in many ways for several decades, but I'm interested in what approach did you take in terms of doing the research for this book?
I came across one piece of research about 40 years ago, and it was a woman named Emmy Werner from University of California, Davis, who had the same question we all do. Is there hope for some kids who really are suffering from extreme adversity? So what this incredible researcher did was find about 700 children. And she decided to follow the same 700 kids who were facing a lot of adversity for 40 years. What happens to them when they grow up? What she was blown away by, even during their teens, is that a number of them, 1/3, were caring, confident, and competent despite extreme adversity. We're talking sexual, physical abuse, schizophrenic parents. They bounced back. Then her question was the why. And what she discovered that we all need to know is it wasn't DNA. It wasn't IQ, it wasn't zip code. It was what parents, or if not a parent, a coach or a teacher was doing, or a grandparent, to help these kids learn to thrive, because thrivers are made, not born.
So part of trying to understand what we should be doing, I think personally as a parent, is really understanding what we're doing currently that we shouldn't be doing. So could you take us through that a little bit in terms of what are we doing that's preventing building thrivers?
I think that we have a myth that resilience is locked into IQ or GPA. Break it, because it's not. We have power and we can make or break our kids' lives in terms of realizing it can be taught, regardless of temperament. Regardless of what's going on with the child, we can make a difference. The second thing is putting so much emphasis on the GPA and the IQ or the test score that we've overlooked the other side. We kind of fail to really help the whole child develop. It's always one-sided. Play, unstructured play, just allowing the child to figure out who they are can be enormously important. Thinking and assuming that the child's going to learn this stuff on their own. Like coping skills, they desperately need somebody to say, here's how to breathe, here's how to reduce the stress, or too much hovering, too much rescue, too much lawn mowing. What we now know is the resilient kids are kids who say, I got this, not mommy's going to do it for me. They slowly develop agency. I love that. They have this self-efficacy that is developed from an early age on that helps them develop mental and moral strength from the inside out.
So how does a parent who maybe has been doing exactly what you just described, that is to say, hovering, helicopter parenting, all the things that we understand has, currently goes on in many homes, how do they stop doing that? And what should they be doing instead?
Well, first of all, acknowledge it. And that's our key parenting moment, because a lot of us go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was doing it until it's too late. That's the key. Second of all, if you acknowledge it, then you go, so what am I going to do instead? It's a simple little mindset switch. And the simplest thing is when you're hovering too much is watch your feet. Where are they? If they're always in front of your kid and you're pulling the kid, then slowly start stepping back. And along the way, you start changing your language till, sweetie pie, that's okay, mommy will help. Till, you got this. What will you do? What's your idea? What's the process you'll think about trying? And the next thing you can do is pass it on to somebody else. In fact, if you're a mom, what you see Santa Cruz says is the coolest thing for you to do that changes your whole mindset in terms of parenting is tell one other mom, here's what my new plan is. You're now going to be accountable because that other mom's going to keep nailing you. So are you stepping back? Are you still hovering? Just tell one more person your goal and you're more likely to keep on with it. Get a copy of Thrivers because it's going to give you 300 ideas. Don't do them all or your kid will never let you read another book. But find one thing that's going to work for you and go, here's the one thing this month I'm going to start trying to implement every day, a minute a day, just a minute a day. And what will happen along the way is your child will slowly learn the skill and then start reminding you, no, mom, you're supposed to be taking that 1 + 2 breath.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing often what our children are teaching us that we don't realize that we're being taught, but it's happening. Yeah. Let's go through some of those 7 points, buckets that you go through in Thrivers that it takes to build a thriving child.
Number 1 is confidence. It's a child who has awareness of who they are and what their strengths are. Fascinating thing that Emmy Warner discovered is that one of the things that resilient children possess is hobbies. So when push comes to shove, they use the hobby, I don't care what it is, and you should neither, to be able to use it to just decompress. So maybe step 1 is, does your child have a hobby? If not, start introducing them as a family. Maybe great Aunt Sally can teach your kid knitting, or grandma can get on the Zoom and do baking, or Uncle Harry can teach woodworking. What you're looking for is the one thing your child is going to consistently use and know he can use to go to. Books. Don't overlook books. What we now know is books can be enormously helpful for a child because you get into the book, I don't care if it's Bridge to Terabithia or Wonder or Charlotte's Web, and realize, oh, he's got a problem, so I can work it through. That's bibliotherapy. Or another thing is just get a 3x5 card. Walk around the house without your kid knowing you're doing this and figure out what brings your child joy when he's really kind of in a down mode. Is it going to the book? Is it going to music? Is it maybe he's got an interest that is, I'm just going to go play chess. Whatever that is, that's your go-to. And then be concerned if he doesn't have one. What you're looking for is figuring out what your child's natural assets are and then keep strengthening them. One of the best ways to do that is use earshot praise, which means as soon as you discover that your child is kind, oh, how wonderful that is, you start saying to somebody else, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of my child's kindness yesterday. Do you know what he did? And then describe it. He held the door open. Oh my gosh, he was so kind. And you should see the look on the other person's face. What happens is it quadruples the praise. It's authentic, it's deserved, and your child begins to see a positive strength in himself.
So simple, really. And it is a minor sort of shift in approach in many respects. In advance of writing Thrivers, Dr. Borba, you poured over research studies, talked to all kinds of experts in their fields, and you also spoke to young people. I'm curious, what did you learn in the course of your research that surprised you?
The first thing is I started talking to kids once I looked at some very dismal stats on worldwide, particularly North American children, that 1 in 5 would suffer from a mental health disorder in their lifetime. And that was prior to a pandemic. A crisis only amplifies a mental health issue. The second thing was asking the why. What's going on? I interviewed 100 kids one-on-one for about an hour each. And the most interesting thing is every single teen told me, yeah, we are the most stressed out generation. I'd say why? Because many of them said because we're failing to learn the human stuff. the human traits of how do you calm down or how do you problem solve. I know my parents love me to death, but they do too much for me. And as a result, I'm lacking the stuff. One kid said, my biggest concern is I'm worried I'm going to fail life. This was a kid on his way to an Ivy League school. I said, how do you feel like you're going to fail life? Because I don't know how to do my checkbook. I don't know how to do a microwave. I don't know how to do most anything. I need to learn that stuff so I can handle life. So I think those were the first things, is they really reinforce the issue that our kids are failing and suffering. The second thing was all of the research from Emmy Warner, but then there was Michael Rutter, who was looking at children in poverty, Will Garmezi, who was looking at children growing up with families who were schizophrenic moms or dads, and the kids still became overcomers. But they looked at the why, and it was always that they'd learned skills of resilience, not 50,000 of them, but they knew how to problem solve. It was, okay, I got a problem here, but I'm going to stop, I'm going to think, and I'm going to figure out one thing I could do differently next time. And as a result, they bounce back.
So there will be parents who watch this interview and say to themselves, wow, 7 individual teachable characteristics to help my child thrive. Like, I don't have time for that. So how would you respond to that? What would you say to them to encourage, support, and help them cultivate, kids who flourish?
Number one is it doesn't have to be time consuming, but it needs to be repetitive. That's the piece that we need to keep in mind. Skills of resilience are learned through experiences, not through tutors or worksheets or pricey programs. So the first thing is know this is doable. The second thing is realize that maybe our biggest mistakes as the kids is not teaching the same thing or doing it over and over again. Example, you're not going to learn problem solving the first time. But your child comes home upset from school, and the first mistake is we solve the problem for them. Instead, we flip it and we go, oh, tell me what's bothering you, sweetie pie. Say the problem. That's actually, the term is STAND, S-T-A-N-D. It's so simple. You can use that from toddler to teen. S, say the problem. T, tell what, stop and calm down. Take a deep breath, because you're never going to be able to solve it if you're out of control. T, tell what's bugging you. Say the problem. Don't judge it, just say it. Okay, thank you for telling me that you've been bullied. A is, now let's assess what else you can do differently. Let's start brainstorming options. Keep a poker face, because some of the ideas your kids are going to come up with are off the wall. But yeah, that's one idea. What's another? You can add possibilities. And after about a minute, let's start narrowing them. So which ones aren't safe or wise or responsible? Good. Let's decide on one and do it. STAND. It's simple, it's easy, but maybe you just start with the S, let's stop and calm down. And maybe that's your first plan for the next month. Each skill is one that you can repetitively do in your homes. I suggest to parents, put it on your refrigerator to remind you. Or your kid will remind your mom, we're supposed to be taking that stand, remember? And then you'll find ways to weave it in until when your child can do it without you, you add the next skill and the next and the next and the next. That's how you raise resilient kids.
It sounds simple, and it certainly sounds doable. Now, I'm curious, you are the mom of 3 boys yourself. Anything that you learned in your book that you wish you had known, or perhaps wish you could have applied? Your boys are adults now, but when they were younger.
So much new research came in. I think one of the ones that really was surprising to me now that even though my kids are highly empathetic, I didn't realize how much that has to do with helping kids thrive. We do know, says Emmy Warner's research, that they have social competence. So if I was to look at that now, because our children are facing social distancing, and many of them say they're very lonely, we now have what's called the loneliness epidemic. What do they need? When we look at social competence, we break it down into easiness. We know that kids, when I found this one, I went, whoa, highly competent kids use 3 skills. They say hello. You can't smile with a mask, but you can still smile with your eyes and you can still smile with your hands. So start waving, saying hello as you're going to the walks, as you're going for your kids to the supermarket. So they begin to adopt it because well-liked kids say hello. Number two is they use eye contact. This is fascinating. If you really want a kid who's bold and can stand up for themselves, then they can't use wimpy body language. You can make one rule in your house: always look at the color of the talker's eyes. What happens is their head is held up, and now what happens, their whole body looks more confident. So always make a rule in your house starting at the age of 2. Thank you, sweetie pie, but always look at the color of mommy's eyes when you're talking to her. Or when you have a shy kid, look right here, because they still hold their head up. Our kids are texting and talking. They're looking down, not up. It's a problem. They're not going to look confident. Third one is they encourage their friends. Good team players. They haven't been team playing for over 18 months. So play chutes and ladders, play chess at home, but make one rule: you got to encourage each other when you're playing. Good job, Dad. That was a great hand. High five or elbow bump. You keep doing those beginning skills and you keep practicing them over and over again. Then you add on more and more and more, but you start with the base.
Finally, one of the things that we really try to do here on Where Parents Talk is to have an optimistic and, hopeful, pragmatic approach that we can share with parents ultimately, because obviously it's easy to be very negative. So I'm curious, what gives you hope, Dr. Borba, in terms of this subject matter, in terms of the fact that we have come through and we're living in a very uncertain time in this world? What gives you hope moving forward for parents raising kids in this environment?
Well, first, thank you for bringing up hope, because it is number 7 in the thriver traits that are most highly correlated to resilient children. They find silver linings, and so too do we. It isn't that we're raising Pollyannas. We have to have a realistic base that these have been really tough times, but it's also taking a moment to reset our parenting and realizing how critical optimism is. The simplest thing we could do on that one is come up with an optimistic mantra in our own home. And it maybe is you yourself, when you're frustrated, go, I got this. I'll get through it. Or maybe it's a family mantra. We're strong. We can do it. The fascinating thing about that is that you actually counter pessimism. And if pessimism keeps you going, it becomes permanent, pervasive, and it creates depression and anxiety. You can stop it by just creating a mantra in your home: we got this. And if you keep saying that mantra over and over again, what happens is power of parenting, your voice becomes your child's inner voice, and they will use that voice the rest of their lives. We forget the simple little everyday things in parenting can maximize and help our kids become resilient forever.
That is a wonderfully optimistic note to end on. Dr. Michele Borba, author of the book Thrivers, thank you so much for your time today.
You are so welcome. Thank you.